morning, Morgan. How are you?
Sweetheart, I am having the best day ever. And you?
I'm excellent. I'm excellent. Listen, everybody, welcome to Getting to After. We've got a great episode for you today. My name is Chatone Morrison. I'm the Princess of Positivity. I truly believe that you can release negativity so your positive can reign in your brain, in your business, and your big, beautiful life. And these are not just words. We do this through talking, through tapping, and absolutely through transformation. I believe that there's no shelf life on your healing. I believe that you can, through all of the things that we teach you, get to this point where yeah, I can get to confidence and I don't have to worry about how old I've become as if it's not possible. We help women
Mhm.
to restore their calm, to restore their confidence, and come back to themselves so they can focus on what's most important. Now, girl, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Everybody, I'm Morgan Bustos. I'm your companion in transformation and also an EFT practitioner. More than anything, I'm a woman who knows what it's like to rebuild her life after trauma. I really enjoy helping women remember their strength and what they've been through in the kind of season that makes you kind of forget who you are. So, everybody, welcome to Getting to After.
Welcome, welcome. All right, listen, everybody. This is actually week 3. We've kind of been talking about this. These are the 8 ways to end well. So if you're new to this particular topic with us, 2 weeks ago, we started talking about this idea of these 8 ways, and we gave you them kind of in little snippets. And now we're doing a deep dive every single week. The whole goal is by the end of 2025, we want to give you some ways that you can tap through things that will help you get your self care in, that will help you to rebuild and remotivate, get yourself ready to jump into a new year. Because we all know what it looks like. Let's write resolutions. Let's write goals, but you're not ready for any of that. This is to help you get ready. And today we're talking about intentional rest and what it really means. Not the kind of rest you fall into, the rest that you choose, not a shutdown, not when you're going to feel guilty later, not something someone's going to say, well, what happened to you, girl? We're talking
Mhm.
about shame-free, beautiful, healthful rest. And for many of us, it's not a habit. It's something that only happens when we happen to shut down. So Morgan, I want to give a little bit of an example of what this looks like. Um, you know me, I'm always going to create something and write something. So I'm going to read a little something to you and see if this relates to you. Now, for you, those who are in the prayer with us, thank you for hanging out. When you listen to this, I want you to start thinking, what part of this resonates with you? Okay, what part? Because there's a difference. And I know, Morgan, you're like, Chaton, what are you talking about? You didn't tell me you're doing that. I gotta have some surprises for you too. I
She
do.
always does this to me, guys. Every time she pulls out something out of her pocket. I love it.
And I really am. It's on my phone. So let me read it to you. I don't have this memorized. So that we can really understand this idea of intentional rest or needing to kind of um, tell the world, I need a moment, even if that happens every single day. And then also, what is between that and shutting down? Because I know that, Morgan, you're going to talk a little about what that looks like. And
Mhm.
there's a big difference. So some people think that if they shut down means that, get out of here, I'm shutting down, or their body does it for them. And they think it's the same thing. Well, now I've rested. Let's talk a little bit about the difference. Now, Morgan, actually behind you there in your house, I see that there's a dimmer switch. So
Yes.
dimmer behind you? Okay. So we're going to use that as an object lesson. We're going to use the dimmer on your wall to describe the difference between intentional rest and shutdown because there's a difference. And the one thing we don't want is to get to the shutdown mode.
Okay.
Are you with me?
I'm down.
So your nervous system is a lot like the electric wiring in your house. When you choose intentional rest, it's like turning the dimmer switch down. The lights soften, the mood settles, the hum of the day fades, and you're conserving energy and you're doing it on purpose. You can still see, you can still move around, you can still be in the room. You're just choosing less brightness for a while, and that restores you. But when you hit shutdown, it's not a dimmer anymore. It's not gradual. It's a circuit breaker tripping. Everything goes dark all of a sudden in an instant. The power cuts off to protect the system from overload. You didn't choose it. You can't choose it. It just happens because the wiring sensed danger or overwhelm. Intentional rest is when you say, I'm turning the lights down. Shutdown is when your body says, I've got nothing left. So everything's turning off. Both are about safety, but one heals you and the other one hides you until you feel safe again.
That is the best description I've ever heard of our nervous systems. That is great.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happens too. Your body makes you stop, you
Yeah.
know?
So what we don't want is we don't want to get to the point where we're bone dry. We don't want to get to the point where the circuit breakers are tripping. I am in my basement office, and behind me, where you see that blackboard, that is where the circuit breaker is. So, I know what happens when it trips and then the computer's off and everything's off, and you're like, oh my goodness, that actually is what happens. If we don't choose intentional rest over time, the body is going to get, the nervous system is going to get, the brain is going to
Mhm.
get what it needs, whether we do it or not.
You know what, Tone? For the longest time, I thought that rest was something that you had to deserve. Like, I hadn't done enough, so I couldn't stop. And for the longest time, that's why I would always push myself so hard because I didn't feel like I deserved to have it. But, with that kind of mindset, I really took a toll on my body and it ran me into the ground for a lot of
Yeah,
years.
yeah. And the thing is that in midlife, that's what happens. We've been sold this bill of goods that if we don't keep going or we wear it as a badge of
Mm,
honor, and it's just not true. And this idea of intentional rest as a reward. But the thing is, the body's going to get what it wants regardless. And maybe think of when we're pregnant, you could be eating all these things, you're craving pickles. I've never craved a pickle, I'm just saying. Whatever it is that you're craving. But the truth of the matter is, no matter what you eat, that baby is going to get its nutrients. No matter what, it's going to take what it needs. Even if you're
mm,
eating the worst food, it's going to take the little micronutrients that it needs. And that's what our body's going to do. You don't want to
mm,
rest? You don't
mm,
want to sleep at night? You don't want to shut down every once in a while and say, hey, world is going to be too much. The body is going to do it on top of you. And I know that, Morgan, that we experienced this last year with you.
mm,
And obviously, as many of our viewers know, that you've been through quite a lot over the last several years.
mm,
And for your body, because your mind told you you couldn't rest, or you
mm.
were told you didn't deserve rest, when we had that big tapping session with our mutual coach, and then you were supposed to be hanging out with me to work.
Yeah,
In
that did.
actuality, it was like you were in a hangover. I said, "What? Is she ever gonna wake up?" But it was literally your body saying, and it wasn't a bad thing. Your body needed that at that point. But sometimes when it's happening over time, it can actually really be a negative thing. We could be missing things and so forth. So I thought that because I witnessed this with you just about
Mhm.
a year ago, that you could talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. And, we can even go back if you missed that episode or that series that we had. It was in November, like over like Thanksgiving
Yeah,
week, I
I'll put it in
believe
the
it was.
description. I'll put the link in so they can read it because watch it because it was amazing.
Yeah. We originally went down there so that I could work with you and, do all of our photos and get everything ready for getting to after. And then it turned into me not being okay for a second. And so very lovingly, our mentor allowed you and I both to come over there
Yeah,
and he gave me a session. And it was funny because even like walking into the session, there were so many things that were triggering me subconsciously and I didn't even realize it,
yeah,
so I'm trying to figure out why it was bothering me, and then I didn't have to wait too long because within minutes of
you
our
got the
mentor
tapping. Yeah,
yeah, of our mentor helping me with the tapping. And so just like tapping right here while we were talking through things at the beginning, it just everything started flowing out.
yeah,
Everything started coming out. So there was what? I mean, I think we went all the way back to when I was 2.
yeah.
We were addressing things from when I was 2, and then it was crazy how vivid all of the things
Mm,
were. And it was interesting because at the end of that whole session, when we got home, I slept. I slept. I was so tired. I think I ate. I think you fed me. And then I went upstairs and I laid
I
down.
made you eat. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, she made me eat, and then she kept bringing me tea and checking on me because I slept for what, 20 some hours?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Almost 24 hours scared me to death. And
yeah,
so
so
checking on you and checking on you and checking on you to see if you're okay. Yeah,
yeah, so where before, my body would shut down because it didn't have a choice, it would make me shut down. This time I got the therapeutic release that I needed, and my body was reacting to that by letting me rest. So
yeah.
I felt safe enough to sleep, I felt safe enough to rest, and I even lost, like,
Oh yeah,
weight. It was crazy.
yeah,
So the emotional weight, the physical weight, it was a whole new me when I got woke up the next morning.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's why today we're talking about this idea of intentional rest, loving yourself for purpose, not just performance. Because so much of the time, we, if we start resting a lot, or we say, I'm
Mhm,
going on vacation, it's like an
mhm,
event.
mhm,
And if you learn nothing else, or if nothing resonates with you today while you're watching this episode, I want you to be thinking about the fact that this kind of rest can't be an event. Now, for you, Morgan, last year, it was an event.
mhm.
Because first of all, you're states away from home, you're in someone else's bed, you're seeing a mentor, you're going through a lot of tapping and stuff, but your body wouldn't have been able, or I would say you yourself would not have been able to say to your body, okay, let's rest now.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to happen. It was not possible. And so for many of us, the reason why this is on our list of 8 ways to end well is you need to ask some questions. Where am I right now? You know, how many nights am I sleeping less than 4 or 5 hours intentionally? Intentionally. And
Mhm,
how many is because I just can't rest? Because there are times, and I know this is why it's so important at the end of the year, businesses go into
mhm.
overdrive. If you're a network marketer type business, you've got these numbers you're trying to hit, or if you're someone who's going to have a lot of family in, or you're doing traveling like I'm about to do, things are happening, and that may be a reason. I think it's interesting, Morgan, as I mentioned to you before, I go away on my big trip to Asia at the end of the year. I'm strategically building in 5 days of rest. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm going to sleep 24 hours a day, but I'm intentionally building in a schedule that is clean, where
Mhm,
every single day I'm going to allow time for tapping, for deep breathing, for oils, for exercise, for walking, for sitting and doing absolutely not a darn thing on purpose, right? Not a darn thing, okay?
yeah.
Because I know that I'm going to be asking so much of my body, time zone changes, different kinds of food, meeting hundreds of people in 4 different countries. It's a lot. And so because of that, I'm building that in. But so much of the time, we know we're going to have crazy schedules as midlife women, but we don't build that in for ourselves. We don't build in that intentional rest. So one of the parts of this 8 ways to end well, right, Morgan, is talking about how do we how do we get this in? And so you can just take one a week, or you may have to be on intentional rest for 6 months. I don't know. But if you're listening to us right now, what I'd like you to do is, if you have one of our journals, or if you have a pad you can use as the Giving After journal, I want you to answer some of these questions that I'm going to be asking. If you're watching the premiere and you can't pause right now, be thinking about them. But if later on you want to come back and watch the replay, please do that. Journal some of these answers out so that later on you can see, ooh, from these answers, what do I need to work on? So the first one is, how many nights am I sleeping less than 4 or 5 hours? Basically, for midlife women, most of us are. It is not good for us. It does speak back to nourishment, which last week, Morgan, you told us about how important it is that it's not always just food is your nourishment. A lot of times it's your
Yeah.
rest, right?
Yeah.
The second question is, how many days do you feel like I am running on empty, but quietly you're proud?
Mhm,
You know what that's like.
mhm.
Oh, girl, I slept for 2 hours and went right to the gym. Yeah, I just got this Starbucks, and are you bragging? Are you
Yeah.
bragging about not taking care of your nervous system and your body? Question three, when you're bragging about being exhausted and you know deep down it's not something to be proud of anymore, how do you feel about that? So while you're doing it because it's popular to do, is your body in agreement? Is your heart in agreement? Do you feel a little bit like, am I being a hypocrite right now? Because those kind of separations between what's coming out of your mouth and how you really feel, you need to tap on that to close the gap. See that?
Mhm.
Tap
Yeah.
to close the gap. All right. It's
I like
really
that.
important, because rest deprivation is one of the most acceptable forms of self
Mhm.
neglect that women have across the ages. Across the ages. I think after the age of about 15, where our 15 to 16-year-old might sleep 20 hours a day if they can. Outside of that, we have a proclivity to just not to think that it's a badge of honor. And then depletion is just dressed up as achievement. And behind all of that, a lot of times, depression. And what's coming is a shutdown. So the circuit breaker is about to get shut off.
I also think that a part of that healing is admitting how much a part of that was survival.
Yeah.
We didn't wanna look weak, we didn't wanna look like we were incompetent, so we just kept going and going and going. But now we get to call it out and call it something different.
Yeah. And what we're gonna call this intentional rest
Yes, ma'am.
because it's important. And I think when I was trying to come up with an analogy for the difference between like true shutdown, when the body says, I'm done. And I've had it happen many times to me. And my nervous system is very sensitive to where um when I'm around red flag folk, I just get extremely tired.
Yeah.
In the middle of a conversation, my body has learned that is dangerous for us.
Hmm,
And the only way, if I can't physically move, I mean shut down. Well, I've
that's
seen
crazy.
how I just get tired and I'm just like, and I just fall asleep. I just fall asleep. My body will not allow me to. I've been through too many things and many things I don't talk about here in this pod, but my body doesn't allow me to. So when I get around red flag people, I get very, very tired. So if I'm around you, I start yawning a lot. You may want to look at yourself and wonder what kind of person you are.
Oh.
So, we want people to journal. We want you ladies to be journaling out there throughout this week, or through the week that you choose to do intentional rest. Um, and I think answering these questions again will give you kind of a a format for some of what Morgan was talking about. So, Morgan, I know that you're really into journaling and everything, and yet when you did this session, you were coming up with things that you hadn't even thought about for years and years and years.
Mhm.
How does journaling affect you now?
Being able to see it written out, it gives me a timeline for one, so I'm able to put things in perspective a little bit better, but also being able to get it out of my body, has been really, really therapeutic for me, mentally and physically. And then also being able to like go back and look at it
Yeah,
to see how far I've come. That's
yeah,
been a huge, huge blessing also to know that I am making progress. So on the days that I am feeling down, I know that
go
I'm,
back. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So again, intentional rest, especially toward the end of the year, may feel like the very last thing that you have time to do. But
Mm,
this week, if you can, grab a journal or grab your trusty phone, think about these questions and answer them with like text to talk to text type of thing.
mm,
And then answer those questions so that you can see where those gaps are. And we're going to do tapping transformation in just a moment, where we're going to talk about some of these things. I know that so many of us, Morgan, are running on empty. I know we are.
yeah.
You can try and play it off if you want to, but we know you are because we are, and
Right?
we're very self-aware, but we still are
Mhm.
because we have a lot of responsibilities. So here's something you may want to think about journaling on today or try exploring. So the first thing is I asked those other questions. That's just logistically. How many hours am I not sleeping? How proud am I of not sleeping? How much am I bragging about that? And then how do I actually feel that I'm bragging about something that I really don't want to be doing? Right? That's just cultural
Mm,
absorption, which we don't want to do. So now in
mm,
your journal reflections, to think about, when do I feel the most tired? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. When do I feel the most tired? Sometimes we don't know. It's important to write that down and know what that is, Morgan, because you may find that certain people, certain activities,
mhm,
certain locations, we may be able to unravel triggers that you didn't even know were there, right?
mhm,
The second thing is, what am I doing when I feel most peaceful? And that's when we overlook. See, that's why fat and happy is so important. You need to, those are weak for glimmers. You need to know what those things are so that you can bring down the things that make you the most tired and amp up the things that make you feel most peaceful. That is where you know what to do during your intentional rest. And I have to give a plug for next week's episode because we're going to give you some great we're going to give you some great self-care ideas that are splurge worthy. So make sure you stay tuned for that. What are
mm,
you doing what am I doing when I'm feeling my most peaceful? And then where do I resist rest? And what story do I tell myself about why I'm resisting rest?
mm.
Now, Morgan, I know that you and I have talked about this one quite a bit. This I'm good. You know, kids do that. Little toddlers,
Right?
they used to do that. I'm
Yeah.
not sleepy. I'm not sleepy. Your eyes are red, right? Then they're rubbing their eyes and
Yeah.
crying. And I'm not tired. I'm not tired. And then as soon as I sit down for about 2 seconds, boom. So, I mean, we do that too, Morgan,
Yeah.
right? This idea of resisting rest and then telling ourselves there's a reason why we have to do it. You know, I have to do something for our kids. I have to do something for my job, or what are
Mhm.
people going to think about me, or, things like that. And the fourth thing is, what would it look like to rest before I enter shutdown? What would it
Mm,
look like to rest before I'm depleted? What would it look like to dim down my energy before the circuit breaker shuts down? What
mhm,
would that look like? And journal on that, because if you don't, you may have a lot of feelings about that. Well, it's going to mean all these things. Maybe you're married and your in-laws would treat you a certain way, or maybe your mother-in-law would,
mhm,
or you're like at my job, they'll say this, that. What do you mean you're taking a day off for mental health? Whatever it is, you need to know what those things are for you so that you know what you're pushing through. So that when you're ready to do it, you don't have to feel so angsty about it because you
mm.
can just go ahead and do it.
That really is a big part of healing is making sure that you are resting before you're completely drained and depleted, you know? But also, if journaling doesn't work for you and it feels like it's too hard, if that's not a good starting point, just start with, like, awareness. Like, if you're
Yeah,
when you're yawning or if you're
yeah,
spacing out, scrolling for the 500th time, something like that, it's your body saying that they need a minute, you know? So just pay attention that way.
yeah. There's this guy on TikTok that I look at. His name is Terry K. He's so funny.
Mhm,
And every night almost he does a video. I don't see it at night, but I see him do these videos. And he's in bed and he's got his phone there, and he looks and he says, I caught you. You still scrolling. You know you're supposed to be asleep. Meanwhile, why isn't he asleep? And he does them about like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I usually see them in the morning. And he's like, no, stop it. I saw you. And then he goes like this, you're supposed to be sleeping. He's so funny. But and his audience is women. But the thing is that that's what we do.
mm,
We will find other ways, and even that constant scrolling when we're tired, or that watching one more show on Netflix or Amazon Prime, it is because we're trying to put our nervous system in a state of calm, but that's actually the opposite way of doing it. It's the opposite way. So, Morgan, since we're talking about intentional rest and for for purpose, so that intentional rest, not waiting until we're shutting down, not waiting until everything has fallen apart, but literally saying we're going to be willing to give permission. I think tapping is the perfect way of doing this. So are
mhm.
you game if I lead us through a little bit of tapping right now? So
Absolutely.
before we get started tapping, for most of you probably have watched us before, one of the things you want to do is you want to go ahead and figure out what your level is on this topic. Where are you feeling this in the body? As we've been talking about taking intentional rest and asking you those questions, did it like get you here like, ooh, that's me? All right. Did you get a little pain in your head? Like, did you feel a little angsty about like, oh, I know I have not been taking care of myself in this way, and there's no dimmer light, it's circuit breaker or nothing.
Mm,
Think about where you're at from a level of 0 to 10. The zero would be, I'm getting 8 hours a night. And on top of it, it's restful sleep. And on top of that, I know exactly when to take a break, when to shut it down, say it no to people. Then you might be at a 0, 1, or 2. All right. So you're doing pretty well. You still need this because your body needs to know when it's time. But if you find yourself really stressed out over this topic, you may feel a quickness in your breath right here. You may feel like, ooh, you find yourself when you're listening to us ever just making a sigh like that? Did you know that is your body's way of trying to calm you down? Because you
mm,
hear something, it hits you, and you're like, we don't even recognize when our body's trying to heal us somatically. We're going to get
mm.
into it in 2026. So give yourself a level 0 to 10, and we're going to go ahead and start tapping. Morgan's going to repeat after me. You can do the same thing. You can repeat after us, or you can do it out loud. You can do it as a whisper. You can just do it really quietly, or you can just watch us and get the borrowing benefits of tapping. First things first, we're going to take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. At the top of the breath, we're going to hold for a few seconds and then blow out through our mouth. So here we go. Breathing in through your nose, holding the breath, out through your mouth. Do that one more time. You can kind of move around a little bit, try and get yourself nice, relaxed in your chair. Or if you're standing, breathing in through your nose. And then out through your mouth. And remember, any feelings that come up right now, there's no judgment. You're exploring, you're noticing, and you're acknowledging how you've been feeling. And we're just going to give you some little thoughts to kind of ponder on while we do this tapping. All of the tapping may not apply to you and how you've been taking care of your rest or getting that rest in, but some of it might, and might be all of it. And if so, it's not a judgment, it's not a negative thing. You're exploring right now. So let's tap together. Starting at the karate chop point to the side of the hand. Even though I've been running on empty,
Even though I've been running on empty,
I'm open to slowing down with kindness.
I'm open to slowing down with kindness.
Even though part of me still feels guilty for resting,
Even though part of me still feels guilty for resting,
I'm willing to see rest as love,
I'm willing to see rest as love,
not laziness.
not laziness.
And even though I've ignored my body's requests,
And even though I've ignored my body's requests,
I choose to listen
I choose to listen
and care for it now.
and care for it now.
Excellent. Okay, let's get started on the eyebrow point. My body feels heavy and I notice it.
My body feels heavy and I notice it.
Side of eye. I've been pushing past tired for too long.
I've been pushing past tired for too long.
Under eye. Sometimes it feels like I can't stop.
Sometimes it feels like I can't stop.
Under nose. My body's been asking for peace.
My body has been asking for peace.
Chin. My mind has been busy keeping score.
My mind has been busy keeping score.
Collarbone. I can feel what I've been holding tension.
I can feel where I've been holding tension.
My neck,
My neck,
my shoulders,
my shoulders,
my belly,
my belly.
underarm. But I don't have to earn my stillness.
But I don't have to earn my stillness.
Top of head. I hear what my body's been whispering.
I hear what my body's been whispering.
Rest me,
Rest me,
rest me.
rest me.
Eyebrow point. I give myself permission to pause.
I give myself permission to pause.
Side of eye. Rest is how I come back to myself.
Rest is how I come back to myself.
Under eye. I can breathe without rushing.
I can breathe without rushing.
I deserve to be slow.
I deserve to be slow.
Under nose. My entire body deserves gentleness.
My entire body deserves gentleness.
My entire nervous system deserves care.
My entire nervous system deserves care.
Chin. Rest will restore my body and my spirit.
Rest will restore my body and my spirit.
Collarbone. I now choose calm
I now choose calm
without guilt,
without guilt,
without shame.
without shame.
Underarm. I can find small,
I can find small,
intentional moments
intentional moments
to restore and rejuvenate.
to restore and rejuvenate.
I will not wait for shutdown.
I will not wait for shutdown.
Top of head. I rest on purpose,
I rest on purpose.
with love,
With love,
with peace,
With peace.
with ease and calm.
With ease and calm.
Okay, you can gently stop tapping and we'll just take a breath together. We're going to inhale calm and exhale everything that can wait. I know she had to get a little something to drink there.
Yeah.
What happened?
I started to get dizzy and lightheaded because my
Wow.
body was releasing so much so quickly.
That's something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's take a breath together. In through the nose. We're going to inhale calm, exhale everything that can wait. Inhale calm. We're going to hold that calm inside. You can put your hand right on your chest or a hand on your belly. Hold it. Then exhale, expanding your belly. Everything that can wait. Let's do that one more time. Inhale calm. Hold that. Picture it calm and ease and peace. And exhale everything that can wait. Nice, nice. So remembering that rest is not something you do when everything else is done. That's not going to work. It's how we remember who we are. It's how you remember who you are.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that tapping, Morgan?
It's releasing a lot because it's even making my eye twitch at the moment.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a lot of everything's going in full circuit.
Yeah. So, one of the reasons why we tap, of course, is because things come up. We ask you to journal with these 8 ways to end well. Let me put up here a link. If you love that, if that's something that resonated with you, make sure that you reach out to us so you can get your own tapping session. I feel, Morgan, I think I'm right, that one of the best ways to start a new season is by clearing out the old stuff. And a great way of doing that is with tapping. And not just like one tapping session. You may need a few tapping sessions to do that. Here, I love the tapping and I'm releasing so much. I didn't mention this, but like one of the ways that you release, you may burp, you may get chills, you may feel warm. It's funny because my hands are warm, but these 2 fingers are freezing. And so like energy will be coming out and feels really strange, but it's just the way the body works. And so we want to work along with our body because our body and our mind is one. And we don't want to act as if it's separate things. And we don't want to let the circuit breaker turn all the lights off. That's what we want. So this is where you can go bit.ly/chat-tap. Morgan, what final words do you have for our folks about intentional rest?
Just make sure that you're taking care of yourselves. Even if you have to schedule it into your week, and give yourself a little time for you, make sure you're doing that. Don't wait for your body to break down and shut down.
Yep. And I want to throw this link up too because in the Getting to After magazine that is out right now for fall, Morgan has a beautiful grounding script in there. It's exclusive just to our readers and subscribers of the Getting to After magazine. This one is, and again, it's exclusive. No one can get it. You can't get it and you want it. You get it as a freebie along with our magazine. The magazine is $10. The proceeds go to help us defray costs for our Empowerment Essential Kits and for the work that we do together. It's bit.ly/G2A-fall25. Morgan will tell you how amazing the recipes are.
Delicious. Absolutely delicious. My family is saying thank you to you. I think you're getting a card in the mail, if I recall correctly.
But I will tell you that not just the stories that are there, the poetry that's there, the artwork, and the beautiful, gorgeous photography by Leslie Martinez, one of a photographer from Colorado that we featured. Amazing, amazing photography. You could just use that for your intentional rest. Sometimes it's just looking at something beautiful and letting your eyes close and visualize that for a while, getting some tapping in. You will kind of wake up rejuvenated, even if you haven't gone all the way to sleep. And if you do that over time, your body learns how to grab for intentional rest and will remind you to do it even when you're kind of fighting it. So definitely make sure you get the magazine, do that breathing and grounding with Morgan. You will feel 100%. I'm just saying, you will feel 100%. All right, we will be back. This next episode, I can't wait for Morgan because we're gonna be running through some things that you guys need to think about. How do you get a little bit of self-care in, not super expensive, but splurge worthy for your time and your money and your energy. We'll see you soon though.
Bye.
Bye everybody.